Good morning, and thank you for attending this urgent meeting. Good morning, and thank you for attending this urgent press conference. I hope that what I tell you today will at least provide a glimmer of hope in these very dark times. We recall that when the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic on 11 March 2020, the organization stressed that all countries must strike a balance between protecting health, minimizing economic and social disruption, and respecting human rights. Ladies and gentlemen, before I proceed, I want to observe a moment of silence for Zinzi Mandela. Can you bow our heads, please? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen of the media connected to participate in this media conference, supporters and fans of Premiership and the Great Africa Championship, watching this broadcast on television or your devices of choice wherever you are in the continent of Africa. All stakeholders that play a part in enabling us to deliver week in and week out a competitive football that stands its grounds against the best football leagues in the world. I greet you all under circumstances that seems to be destined to be the new normal. I stand here under the strict advice of the Board of Governors of the National Soccer League to provide clarity to the nation about the process and progress made towards completion of the 2019-2020 season of the ABSA Premiership and Great Africa Championship. Under normal circumstances, most of the planning and preparation required to deliver hundreds of matches in a season happen away from public view. Issues of training, preparedness in venues, transport and accommodation, safety and security, broadcasting, all these important elements that enable the Premier Soccer League, the largest event organizer in South Africa, to host and deliver the content that we do happen away from the public view. The Board of Governors has this time around advised that the planning, engagements, and preparations be shared with the nation. The nation faces unprecedented circumstances, having to operate in the midst of the deadly COVID-19 virus pandemic. It is important, as I take you through the process and progress so far, to point out emphatically that right from the beginning, we have put saving lives first. In fact, our whole approach is governed by this all-important health factor. It is even more important the football business, as sports requires stringent physical exhaustion right from the beginning. We did not sit on our hands while observing the government's lockdown fully. We took a keen interest in the developments pertaining to COVID-19 here at home and around the world. We engaged the government and experts. It is abundantly clear that living with COVID-19, an invisible, inaudible, tasteless, and odorless virus that we can unknowingly touch, ingest, or inhale to our detriment, is the new normal. Testing, sanitation, hand washing, maintenance of safe bubbles, social distancing, and wearing of masks when outside safe bubbles are the only way going forward. After the initial total lockdown and its extension, the level matrix was introduced by the government with invitations for applications by industries to operate under conditions and safeguards approved by the National Coronavirus Command Council. The NSL made an application to the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, detailing our proposal. Here is the Minister's letter dated the 23rd of June 2020 responding to the NSL application. May I read it for you? Dear Dr. Khoza, resumption of training for contact sport. Your application for resumption of training relating to contact sport dated 15 June 2020 as reference. Thank you very much for taking the time to prepare and present such an excellent application. Your mitigation strategies and plans have been considered in relation to the risk-adjusted strategy in addressing the COVID-19 pandemic. Your plans have further been subject to analysis by the NICD, who have recommended that the measures put in place by your organization meets and in some instances exceed the required protocol. These include both the training plan and the playing in a biologically safe environment. The NICD have provided comments on the documents which need some minor attention and have expressed their willingness to engage you on this. We therefore grant permission to the Premier Soccer League to start training and playing in a biologically safe environment in terms of your outlined plans on the date determined by a sport body, subject to the measures you have committed to, including the following conditions. PSL must ensure that all clubs are compliant and provide operational plans, which have already been provided. Reduce number of players and participants on the field. We've done that in training. Testing of players and participants is compulsory. We've already done the testing of players. Training venues must be disinfected and clean every day. Is happening. Control measures must be put in place. That is in place. Monitoring and compliance by the PSL must be assured. PSL compliance officer must be appointed, already being appointed, Michael Murphy. Clubs must also appoint compliance officers. All training and playing venues, names must be submitted after receipt of this permission. That has been done. All people entering the sporting venue must wear masks and be screened. That's happening. Any person with high temperatures may not be allowed to enter the sporting venue. Areas declared as hotspots should be avoided subject to advisory from the Department of Health, and extra precautionary measures must be in place if allowed to turn and play matches in a contained environment. Note further that the department may deploy officials to monitor compliance, and such officials may be allocated a specific identity document. Already they've gone to about 12 teams in the country, and all they passed with flying colors. From you, from Mr. E.N. Mteta MP, Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, date 23rd 06 23. A second letter was followed, after that one, from the DG on the 30th of June 2020, after the minister's letter. I must read it also for the record. Dear Ms. Mato, notice for resumption of training and playing. The minister's permission relating to the resumption of professional training and playing related to contact sport dated 23rd of June 2020 as reference. We herein wish to clarify the confusion related to the permission of resumption of training and matches as outlined in the letter signed by the minister. Although the minister permits training and playing of official matches to end the current season, we wish to request your good selves to fortify your risk mitigation plan by submitting the following: the proposed date on which the official matches will resume, venues at which matches will play. Now the dates have already been sent to SAFA and the minister's office. Residence plans of all players, coaches and technical staff, transport plans to and from the training matches, catering plans, attached health certificate. We hope to hear from you soon. Kind regards, Mr. V.M. Keys, the Director General, Sports, Arts and Culture. The permission by the Minister on the 23rd of June 2020 for the resumption of training and playing set in motion engagements by the NSL of its stakeholders towards the completion of the 2019-20 season. The NSL alerted its sponsors and broadcasters that the season would be completed at the end of August. It was working back from this date and then the requirement of at least 6 weeks to complete the fixture, that all other dates were arrived at. Planning for and commencement of training, for example, engaging SAFA about the allocation of referees and informing FIFA. FIFA had requested dates from the league around the world and issued a directive allowing the extension of players' contracts by month to the end of July instead of June 2020. We went beyond that, went into the end of August. It was important to let FIFA know since our end date goes a month beyond July 2020. Engage the players' union to go through the decisions and the rationale behind. The situation created by the COVID-19 attack on the nation has required swift decisions under trying circumstances. The State President Ramaphosa painstakingly expressed yesterday, those in leadership are tasked with finding a balance between preserving life, which is first and foremost, and lessening a further destruction of livelihoods. The two clubs of the NSL, fully represented in the Board of Governors, have met to address the challenges of COVID-19 under circumstances where the very existence of the businesses is threatened. Some of the commentary and points made about the resumption of playing by NSL have missed the point that these are businesses. Being in the entertainment business, and the fact that when we work it is called playing, has for some taken away from the business and employment aspect of our game. The NSL is essential to the South African economy as an employer and businesses that sustain livelihoods. The value chain of the NSL businesses is a continuum of operations from individual bloggers, marketing practitioners in small and big companies, to equipment and wear manufacturer, to media and broadcasters, right up to corporations that anchor the South African economy. Besides being our nation's largest event organizer, we provide content that is sensitive for the bulk of our revenue. The deliberation of the Board of Governors and our engagements with the government has been about more than playing. They've been about saving of businesses and in the industry. The NSL has obligations to its sponsors that have an effect on their businesses. Some of the commentary has given the impression that we have the latitude of switching off until things are back to normal. That is besides the government and experts have let us know about our new normal. We do not play for fun. The so-called playing is a business. Let me address some of the narratives that have been doing the rounds. There's confusion about the dates. I must indicate that I had a few meetings with the President of SAFA dealing with these issues long before this controversy came about, discussing a lot of issues affecting football in this new normal. The 6 weeks required to end the season is not a thumbsuck. Setting of dates and the fixtures is done by the NSL in line with the NSL handbook that is recognized by the SAFA statutes. Presently, as we are speaking now, there is a meeting taking place between the SAFA and the PSL compliance officers, finalizing, among other things, the availability of the match officials. Some clubs have decried the limitedness of time to regain full fitness. We are in a state of war. It was in recognition of this that the FIFA issued a directive increasing the number of substitutions per match to 5 instead of the usual 3 for the balance of the season. The nature of our business since the COVID-19 attack has been such that the Board of Governors is at hand to meet and address the challenges we face as they arise. To date, the Board of Governors has ordered the following: a suspension of the league when the lockdown was announced and extended, an application to resume training and playing, set the date to resume, and the creation of a politically safe environment for this to happen. This, ladies and gentlemen, is an update I can give, and I'm available for questions or clarifications at this point in time.
Emily? You just switch off the microphone?
Right.
No, just switch off. We'll now take questions first from the floor. Emily is there, is sanitizing the microphone, and then afterwards we'll accommodate the media that are not here by taking questions via our WhatsApp group. They are sending questions right now, and the chairman will address that. But first of all, just the TV crew that are here, just 2 questions from them. Seppo from BNC, please.
Thanks. Chair, thank you so much. Just clarification, you are saying obviously there's a meeting that's happening with the SAFA officials about match officials.
Compliance officers of SAFA and the PSL.
Okay, secondly, you said that you've agreed on a date to train and resume play, if I'm not mistaken.
No, that is given by the government's directive.
So as it stands now, we do not have like a date that you can say, okay, we are starting on the 18th or...
Let me say this, whenever we prepare the fixtures, we send them to SAFA. Then SAFA in return come back to us with a response. We've set a date, but that date is sent to SAFA, and SAFA is the one who will come back and indicate.
All right, Pilar.
Chairman, thank you. Pilar Sande from Newsroom Africa. There's been various reports, obviously, in the media about all sorts of things, the date. There's also been reports about a biosecure bubble that has been proposed. Can you give us an indication which province that might be? Is it Gauteng? And we know that the government has always said that Gauteng is the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you sort of clarify where, or possibly where, that biosecure bubble might be?
Let me deal with the issue of the epicenter. Now, I've indicated that football, because of its nature, is seen as playing. It's not seen as a business. All of you sitting here, even at home, at work, you leave your home to go to work. The risk that goes with that, you go to work by taxi, by buses, by train. And in some instances, you go to the shopping centers. You go to meet, shopping and do other things. And you come back home, there's no social distancing. There's no mask wearing. Imagine the risk that goes with it. Now, the issue of the epicenter and the issue of the lockdown was emphasizing that it minimized the contact with crowds, with gatherings. Now, what we have provided, as a solution, again, was predicated on a medically safe risk to make sure that we play in an environment that can assist. Now, whoever goes into the bubble must be tested first. If you're not negative, you can't go to the bubble. You cannot come out of the bubble. Now, all the companies that have resumed work, give me one that has done the testing before they resume work. Any company. Your company itself never tested all of you. But you keep on going to work, out, in, out, in, out. But for us, it was also good that it happened this way. Because some of the clubs they discovered that there are some players that were infected, wouldn't have known. And if we had done it earlier, it was better still to make sure that we're assisting to manage the spread of the virus. So therefore, by doing this bubble, in fact, is now used as a model that this is the best way. When RAD wants to go back, must use the BSC model. And that's why NICD, they've said that this is unbelievable. It even gone beyond the protocols that they anticipate. In fact, I'm told there might be some kind of letter coming to ease up because we went over the top in providing a safe environment. So what we produce is not 100% perfect, but it mitigates against the risk as compared to other companies. If other companies were subjected to the same kind of conditionalities, it would be a different story altogether. We see shops that are closed, supermarkets are closed because of whatever is happening. Because there's always that kind of risk that goes with it. Because we cannot test everybody. But if the staff and everybody is given a chance, it's going to be somehow easier. But it was not possible. But for us, because of the sensitivity and the emotion that goes with football, we have to err on the side of caution to make sure that we provide this opportunity.
We'll now take questions from the rest of the country. Those people are joining us from WhatsApp. Fatwani, please. Just give us the name of the person first.
Thank you. Chairman, the first question is from Temba Shabalala from Josie FM. And it reads, is there any action that will be taken by the league on the teams that have been training even long before the training was given the green light to do so?
Well, it's important that, the government required every club to submit an operational plan. In there are conditions that must be monitored. And that is why the government, after submitting operational plans, they went to the various stadiums to go and check. But for our compliance officer that has been appointed, if we get to come about that kind of situation. Hence, our COVID-19 plans are part of the handbook. Obviously, the necessary process must take place. If it's true that there are people who went against the permission of the minister, because we have stressed this with the Board of Governors. As event organizers, we will be held liable for any omissions. So therefore, cannot allow people to take risks with lives of people by behaving as if life is normal. And that's why it's going to be very important and unfortunate if that has happened. If people don't respect the law and don't respect the right to life. We've gone against the grain of making sure they comply first before they undertaking the training as subjected. Because one of the conditionalities that was asked for was that everybody must go for ECG, go for testing, to make sure that we are sure that when you are asked the question, in case there's a fatality, the insurance company is going to ask what the requirements were they put in place. When they went to training, when they give a go-ahead to do that, imagine the disadvantage to the people that are affected will now be risk of not being paid out by the insurance cover.
Next
Okay,
question.
the second question from the WhatsApp group is from Minenhle Mkhize from Independent Media, and he asks is the Glad Africa Championship going to come back, or will the league be finished without finishing the last few games with the team at the summit winning promotion to the Elite League?
Let me ask the question I did not answer. When we submitted our applications to government, it was a Board of Governors resolution. Was that we're going to play all the games in Gauteng province and Northwest province. But we did receive a very good pitch from KwaZulu-Natal, which was considered by the task team. But unfortunately, because of the application that was submitted, the venues was to be the what's called Gauteng or Northwest province. As we speak now, the PSL has resorted to stick to Gauteng only because of the advantage that it gives. Now, insofar as the Great Africa, the Board of Governors resolution was that all the two clubs must go to the bubble. There's a meeting of the Board of Governors taking place tomorrow, and that's what we submitted as part of the application to the minister. If there are changes, there's another story. But for now, as things stand, all 32 clubs must go to the bubble.
One more question for 20 from the WhatsApp group.
Okay, the next question is from Musibudi Whitehead, and his question says, how have the members of the NSL been coping with the lockdown? The government has been giving relief funding to businesses, and the Department of Sport has also been helping athletes. Have any of the NSL clubs received relief funding?
I must indicate that there was a meeting that took place between us and the Minister of Labour, trying to give advice as to how to go about the issues of the UIF, and a few clubs did apply for that. But the unfortunate part is that PSL, from the 30th of June, that was the last time we get the grant. If nothing happens beyond this time, because what we fund the new season going forward. Now, the sponsors at this point in time, the general and especially the broadcaster, for the last 3-4 months, they've allowed us to pay and be paid without asking questions in terms of what we give in return. But what's important is that that's why it's so urgent for us to start, because beyond 30th of June, we won't be able to give the clubs any grants for them. If that happens, it means we must now revert to Section 189 for retrenchments. So that is the reality of the situation. It's been stressful to the clubs. Some clubs, they took it upon themselves, to do some kind of, dealings with the players by asking for a reduction of 30 to 40% on the packages. But what we have done as a PSL, we make sure that we can stick to what we promised to the players until the 30th of June. And also want to thank FIFA for allowing us to engage the players and the players' union, that they must be at least cooperative for sporting integrity. That all the clubs, when they go and play, they must finish the season with the full complement of their players. Hence, we extended from the 30th of June to the 30th of July, but we went beyond that as PSL to the 30th of August. And whatever dates that we talk about, whether it's training days, for the teams and whatever, resumption, you start coming back from the date and come 6 weeks, because it needs 6 weeks to finish the season, and make sure that all the matters have been taken care of. Because if we don't have that 45 days or 6 weeks, it's not easy to finish the season. So PSL come under severe pain and stress because they don't have funds reserves. Most of the 95% of the teams don't have reserves. So we hope that sooner than later we'll be resuming the business and making sure that we make the stress a bit lesser for the clubs.
I'll take one more question from WhatsApp, and then afterwards I'll just go to 2 questions on the floor before we conclude. One more question there, Fatu?
Okay, this question is from Mark Stradom from Times Live. It's a very long question, so he says...
summarize it.
I'll just try to summarize this. So it says SAFA's Chief Medical Officer says there is no August 31st deadline from FIFA, but the chairman says the deadline of 6 weeks to complete the season is not a thumbs up. Can the chairman clear up the confusion from the PSL's perspective on this point?
I want to repeat that we are not operating on the money that comes from our pockets. When you wrote a letter on the 18th of June to SAFA for online transmission to FIFA, we indicated that our end date is the 30th of June. And that is why we're counting everything from 30th of June coming this way, because of the sensitivities of the grants. Because beyond the 30th of June, there are no grants. And other things I cannot explain. I'm explaining the reality that is facing the PSL. And that is reality, we ask SAFA to forward that correspondence to FIFA. Because the FIFA asked us, when are you resuming? Are you continuing? We wrote the first letter, which was forwarded by SAFA to FIFA. We will send the second letter. We cannot come up back with the starting date, we've got the end date. That information was submitted to FIFA. Now I'm talking about what we've committed as a PSL to do, which is supposed to be committed to FIFA, because FIFA wanted that information to make sure that they populate their TMS, knowing what dates are starting dates, when is the new window, when is the old window, second window. So there must be certainty in their planning. So we've done that consciously within the rules and the requirements of what was said to us in terms of the correspondence on what was termed frequently asked questions. So we've done exactly that in making sure that whatever we do it in the compliance of the date we've committed ourselves on.
Pilar?
Chairman, thank you. You noted that you need 6 weeks to required to finish the season. Of that 6 weeks, there has to be continuous testing of the players to make sure that everything is still in order. Is that? I'd imagine that that's quite an expensive sort of procedure. Is that going to be coming out of the PSL's coffers? Or is it the responsibility of the individual clubs? Thank you.
There's no continuous testing. There are 2 testing. There's a first test and the second test 48 hours before you go to the bubble. Now, that's why we're trying to debunk this myth that when you're playing football, you manufacture COVID. I was saying people that are going into COVID bubble actually being tested for the last time to make sure that whoever goes in there is negative. That's why there's not continuous screening of players of temperatures and other things, which is normal. But testing happens only twice. First testing, the second testing 48 hours before you go to the bubble. That's where 2 testing that are compulsory. And as we speak now, the PSI has opened up an account to one of the nationally, I call it, footprint, one of the big 2, to make sure, make it easy for the clubs. For those clubs don't have funds, the league has opened an account to pay for those clubs and deduct later on from their grants, whatever is supposed to be paid to the clubs.
Seppo, and then we finish with WhatsApp messages one more.
Thanks. Chair, I can imagine this is a very sensitive issue and not wanting to put yourselves or myself in your shoes, because you have to come up with the decisions. Now, I'm more interested in the, let me say, delay of announcing the date, because since I would imagine the sports ministry gave you guys the go-ahead to say, okay, you can play, you can train. Why is there a stumbling block in terms of you said earlier that you've got the dates and stuff, but why is the delay, Chair? maybe if you can make us understand the delay.
Well, what we have done as a practice, as normal, we submitted the date which we have not made public. We have not announced the date in public. If there's a date in public, it's not our date, because as a PSL, we never officially announced the date. So I'm saying what we have done, we have submitted the date to SAFA. That's what we do usually. We prepare the fixture and submit it to SAFA every year, and for them to supply the referees. So now they've taken that in correspondence to the compliance officers meeting for discussion. So we just have to wait.
WhatsApp messages, then we are done. Fatu, quickly.
Thank you. Two questions which are similar. One is from Chiliro Nelfule from Parapara FM, as well as Tolagele Mganga from EWN. The question says, in terms of testing in the bio bubble, how often will it be done, and will the funding of the testing be paid from the club's cost or the league's cost?
I've answered that question.
Answered already that question.
Okay. Is that,
Any other question before we finish?
final one will be from Peggy Litwalo from SABC Sport. It says, what will happen if more than 5 players are infected with the virus in one team when the league resumes?
There's a squad size that has been allocated, to every team, but also there's a dispensation that has been provided for, that you can use your MTC players, because here you've got to finish the season, or players that are on free, out of contracts, or free agents. But what we have done, we've emphasized that whatever happens, you've got to finish the season. If it costs you to finish with the MTC players, so be it. But the season must be finished, because we are in the new normal that we did not bargain for. We're in a state of war.
If there are no new questions, Fatu, we have to wrap it up. Yeah,
I'll just take
sorry.
one more. So it says,
I think Fatu, that's it, because we have.
just one.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. So it says, it's also from Tolagele Mganga, it says, Chairman, realistically, to finish the season before August, when would we have to resume play?
Watch the space. But I want to say this, there'll be very serious engagements between us and the mother body to make sure that we find a solution. They're also sensitive and aware of the reality facing the league, but also sensitive about the issues of health, because they have a burden on their side as a national association to make sure that certain things are seen to be done in a correct way. Because we've got a very challenging situation in the country. We've got the Sports and Recreations Act, we've got the Sasria Act, which put different obligations on event organizers. So that's why it's very important that some of the things must take them into context. But unfortunately, when other things are written in a way that is not the spirit of what we are hoping to achieve, because we're dealing with a sensitive environment which needs cool head. And I must indicate that serious discussions on an ongoing basis with the President of SAFA to engage on these issues robustly, so to make sure that don't give things to chance. When there's a solution that comes about, it comes about because there's been robust engagement. Because again, football is a game of emotions. If you don't do things, you must say, I've erred on the side of caution. I can only do as best I can. Nobody can be perfect, 100%. So I hope that with all that we have done, it might be able to give us an opportunity to continue playing. But also thank the Department of Sports for providing the support and the guidance and every effort to make sure that we see this day of finishing and saving the industry from collapse. Because it's a threat we don't want to see happening, the collapse of the industry. Because it's not in our hands. We can see how the companies are bleeding. Don't give them an excuse to say, just withdraw the money, because we don't have money anyway, because there's no money that we're making. So we're balancing so many sensitive areas of lives and livelihoods. So we hope that whatever happens, we'll be able to come up with solutions which can assist us in making sure that we get the game forward, but under strict care of everybody's obligation, players, officials, sponsors, broadcasters, media. It's our obligation to assist one another, because we cannot by putting up blame. See things in a way of partnership all of us. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. That concludes this press conference today, and good afternoon.